Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to episode 2 of my How to Fly remix breakdown. Today we're going to be looking at drop 2, which is a more trap leaning drop. And if you haven't already seen the first one, which is for drop 1, this is kind of a hard wavy drop. Definitely go check that out. Went over how I made the pads, how I did the mix down, just a bunch of cool little tidbits of information. But we're going to be building on that now with drop 2, so let's get into it. First things first, I introduced a new melody or bass line, I guess. This is kind of going to be what drop 2 is based around. And play that with the vocals. A little bass line too. Play that with everything. And then we're into the build, right? So let me show you guys how I made these sounds. All I did was grab the top synth group from drop 1. I just kind of pasted it over here to the side. And I took that LFO off, so now it's just full open, right? I kind of tweaked the volume of some of the layers, and for all the synths, I replaced the melody notes with that new progression that I just showed off, this one here. So that's the new progression. So I just kind of copied that over, made all the notes legato, and pasted it here for this group. And then what I did was I recorded this group to audio. I recorded the pad group to audio. And then I did them both in this top synth group. Then once I had that, those long audio files, came over here and started arranging the drop. Before we get into how I arranged it, let's go over the drums really quickly. So here are the drums. They're pretty much the same. So yeah, very similar kick snare pattern and the same layers as drop 1. The one difference I think is actually kind of funny. This is an ISO remix and this snare is called ISO at home. So this snare just has that resonant peak. If you've heard some of ISO's songs, he has the craziest snare ever. So the cool thing about making your own samples is this is actually the same snare as this one from drop 1, but when I was making them, I added this resonant layer to this one. So if you guys want a snare tutorial, I'd be happy to do one. Just let me know. They're pretty easy to make. So we're doing snares notes A and D. So we're doing that for like the first half, but then it goes up to D sharp here. So that adds that little bit of like grit to it, and this also follows the bass line, so it goes to D sharp here. So it sounds pretty clean with that too. And then back down to D here. So that's the drums. Pretty simple, but I thought that was a cool little touch. I'm not going to go over the perks. They're the same as drop 1, so if you see the other video, same thing. The next thing I did was add this really cool harmonic sub. So all this sub is 2 sine waves, and the second one is up 2 octaves and up 7 semitones, so it creates that nice little harmonic layer. And yeah, this bass line is just following that new progression. So let's listen to what we got so far. We got the sub and the drums, and this is kind of what I knew I wanted to take this drop 2 in a trap leaning direction, so I kind of started with this. Right, so we have that little progression there to follow. The next thing I did was grab this kind of tonal donk layer. And I just matched it to play the same note as this vocal here. And same thing for here. Kind of playing the whole drop is these 2 background layers from my sample pack. They're just atmospheric kind of quarter note layers just to keep the rhythm going. And then for the turnaround, I love using this little laser fill. But anything that you see here that says sport on it is from my sample pack. If you want to go cop, it's $5. Yeah, as you could hear, it's kind of starting to fill up. So that's kind of the core idea for it, but obviously that's still pretty empty. So with those resamples that I made earlier, I just started kind of cutting them up and pitching them around and placing them on all the kicks. So it's going to be pretty much these 3 layers here. So that one is just made out of the pads, not really any notes. This one is made out of the synths and the pads, I think. So now we have those two together, and for the second part, kind of change up the notes for this part. And it did take a bit of trial and error, kind of going back over here to the side and changing up these notes till it sounded right. And then this layer down here, same progression, but just some lower octave notes in there from the same resampling technique. And then I just have a noise layer just to fill it up a little bit. And then these 2 mid-bass layers are both from my sample pack. They're just going to help fill out the low end a little bit, or the low mids. So when we listen to these 2 groups together, I mean, that's the progression. Let's also throw in the sub. So you could kind of hear it's starting to come together now. I do have a lot of gaps that I have to fill here, so that's where all these Reese's come in. So let's play some of these. These 2 from my sample pack. This dyadic one. See, this one for the second time around, I just added a little gun fill, and then another dyadic one. One more Reese fill for the turnaround here, kind of blending it in. And then, yeah, so we went over this vocal. That's kind of like the response part. And then, yeah, just another little turnaround layer here.
Sport mode.
Yeah, and same little accent vocals from drop 1. And that's pretty much it. And then the outro is very simple. We're just going to fade out and introduce back some of these pads. So now that you kind of see all the layers, let's give it a little listen back.